Welcome to The Explainer. What if I told you that 6,000 years of human history, all the suffering, all the struggles, was really just the slow repayment of one single cosmic debt? And what if, as of 1981, that debt was declared paid in full? Well, today we're breaking down a sermon by Sun Myung Moon that claims exactly that, arguing that humanity just turned a corner into a totally new era.
Okay, so to get any of this, we first have to wrap our heads around the central concept, indemnity. Now, this isn't the legal term you might hear about with insurance. In this sermon, it's a cosmic principle. It's the idea that all of humanity has been on the hook, paying off a massive spiritual debt for separating from God, right from the very beginning.
So here's how we're going to walk through the sermon's logic. First, we'll look at this cosmic debt. Then we'll see how it was supposedly paid down through history. We'll check out why a key mission was left unfinished, how those same events are said to be repeating today, and finally what the sermon proposes as the brand new path forward.
Right, so let's start with the core problem. According to this sermon, you can understand all of human history as one long, drawn-out battle between God and Satan over this huge spiritual debt that humanity owes.
The sermon uses this really powerful analogy to explain the human condition. Basically, humanity is like a prisoner. We're not free. We're bound by our past actions. And just like any prisoner, we can't just be let go until restitution or indemnity is finally paid for the crime.
And what's wild is how this is all framed as a kind of cosmic negotiation. You've got God on one side arguing for humanity, trying to make the repayment terms as light as possible. But then you've got Satan on the other side, pushing back, insisting the price has to be so ridiculously high that humanity can never, ever truly be free.
So, if there's this giant debt, how does humanity even start to pay it off? Well, the sermon argues that this whole thing isn't static. History is seen as this slow, step-by-step climb up a ladder, where every single step is another payment on that debt, bringing humanity just a little bit closer to God.
And this path to restoration is laid out like a ladder with 4 big rungs. The idea is you can't just leap to the top. Humanity has to start at the absolute bottom, in the position of a servant of servants, and then slowly, painstakingly, earn its way up through each level. The sermon then takes this ladder and maps it right onto key moments in the Old Testament. The period from Adam to Abraham, that's the lowest position. Then you get Jacob's famous wrestling match with the angel, and that's seen as the moment humanity gets promoted to the servant level. And that, in turn, sets the stage for Israel's 400 years in Egypt, which is framed as this long period of indemnity to get them ready for the next big jump. And that next big jump was supposed to be the mission of Jesus Christ, a totally pivotal moment in this whole cosmic story.
But here's the thing. According to this sermon, the plan didn't exactly work out as intended. So the big question is, what was supposed to happen and where did it all go wrong?
Okay, so the sermon describes this very clear spiritual chain of command. You had Jesus at the top, the true son, then John the Baptist, the adopted son, whose whole job was to connect the people of Israel, the servants, directly to Jesus. And get this, the ultimate goal wasn't just spiritual. It was a physical victory to free Israel from the Roman Empire. But, as the sermon tells it, that chain of command fell apart. John the Baptist and the people didn't unite with Jesus. So the result was a spiritual victory, through the crucifixion and resurrection. But the physical mission to restore the world, it was left on the table, incomplete. And that, the sermon argues, is precisely why a second coming became absolutely necessary. And this is where the sermon makes a really bold claim. It argues that the unfinished business from 2,000 years ago is now being replayed in the 20th century, only this time it's happening on a global scale.
So here's the supposed parallel. The United States steps into the role of the Roman Empire as the world's superpower. South Korea is cast as the new Israel, the place where the new truth comes from. And a totally new player gets added to the mix, Japan, in the role of the Eve nation, who's meant to be Korea's partner.
So each of these 3 countries gets a critical job to do in this modern drama. America's role is especially important. It's called the Archangel Nation, and its task is to unite the Adam Nation, Korea, and the Eve Nation, Japan, to basically reverse the original fall.
Now, this isn't just abstract theology. It gets tied directly to the politics of 1981. The sermon looks at the new Reagan administration and its relationship with South Korea and sees it as more than just geopolitics. It's interpreted as a real, visible sign that this divine plan is actually unfolding, right here and now.
So all of this, the cosmic debt, the ladder of history, these modern parallels, it's all building to one central, dramatic climax. The sermon declares that the entire 6,000-year history of paying indemnity is officially over.
The proclamation is that from 1960 to 1981, Sun Myung Moon personally went through a 21-year period of intense struggle that served as the final payment on all of humanity's historical debt. And with that payment made, the age of restoration through suffering and indemnity is declared done. Finished.
Okay, so if the old era of paying for the past is complete, what's next? A brand new mission for the future is introduced, and it all revolves around this one number, 360. That number represents the home church, and this is presented as the practical, hands-on method for actually building the physical kingdom of heaven on earth. The logic is pretty simple. Since the historical debt is now cleared, the focus totally shifts from paying for the past to actively building the future, one neighborhood of 360 homes at a time. And the sermon wraps up by making this home church system the new, non-negotiable path forward. It actually adapts one of the most famous verses in Christianity, basically declaring that in this new era, taking part in home church is the only way to salvation.
So when you step back and look at the whole thing, what does a declaration like this really mean? It represents a massive shift in purpose. The focus completely flips from a past-oriented struggle of suffering and paying off debt to a future-oriented project of building and expanding. It changes the entire meaning of a follower's life, from just trying to endure the world to actively taking responsibility for it.